Brought to you by Southern Trust Home Services, 540-208-3425. Get into a Southern state of mind. Hey there, meteorologist Jamie Singleton. It is Halloween, Thursday, 2:07 p.m., the 31st of October, and we're looking at basically a bad situation getting worse across the area in terms, not necessarily of rainfall and flooding rains. We've really shifted over the past day or two to the concern about tornadoes and the tornado potential. We already have a tornado watch in effect for the mountainous areas, and I'll show you that in just a second, through 7 p.m. Within that watch, already a big area of severe thunderstorm warnings from there are two offices, basically. Blacksburg and Charleston has put out 2 warnings here. And I fixed the microphone so that when I switch over from side to side, you won't lose me this time. I didn't have that set up right last time. I apologize for that. So let's look at what's going on. This is off of GR Earth, and what I want to show you here, a couple of things. You can see, let me get rid of the satellite for a second. This is the area that is under in red, the tornado watch, and you can also see that on Cable 12 television as well. That includes, I believe it is just outside of Radford, but also includes Pulaski, Wytheville, down through Grayson County, northwest North Carolina, through Kingsport and Bristol, Tennessee, down into the northwest North Carolina mountains, and all of the Mountain Empire is pretty much what I call this, except for maybe Carroll County. And then we see it all the way up through West Virginia, all the way up to Charleston, where I've got several trees down reported in the Charleston, West Virginia area. Also, these storms have been producing tree damage out of Kentucky and Tennessee as well, and far southwest Virginia. And now we've got 2 big severe thunderstorm warnings that cover a good part of the Mountain Empire and a good part of West Virginia. This one's in effect until 2:45. That is out of the Charleston office, and then as you go, let me pop you over here on Instagram so you can see a little bit better. As you go into our area, you're looking at a severe thunderstorm warning until let's see, 2:45. That's for another 35 minutes. It remains in effect for northwestern Giles, Smith, Tazewell, Bland, western Wythe, western Greenbrier, Summer, and Mercer counties. We had a severe thunderstorm. Let me pop up the radar here so you can see it a little bit better. It's a noisy map, I know, but that's what's causing a lot of these warnings, is a lot of activity out there. Along the line extending from 7 miles southwest of Summersville to near Quarry, moving east at 60 miles an hour. If you were to go outside and look up at the clouds, you can see those things moving at about 60 to 70 miles per hour. So whether or not we get tornadoes or not, we've still got rotation. Not rotation, we've got wind energy, not necessarily rotation. So what happens is when you get a big storm that tap into those high winds aloft, which really aren't that far aloft, 5,000 feet is kind of near the bottom still of the atmosphere, you can easily pull that high wind down. When it rains really hard, it pulls down that 50, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind, and you end up with some damage. And sometimes it accelerates and gets stronger as it hits the ground and spreads out there. So damage to roofs, siding and trees. Not really much of a hail threat here. This is mainly a situation where we're looking at wind damage here. Bluefield, Wytheville, Bland, Princeton, Marion, Richlands, and Tazewell. That includes the Mercer County Airport. The storms have a history of producing wind damage in Tennessee. Okay. And we're just talking about that. We've also got some wind damage around Clintwood in Virginia. Trees down here, continuation of just some very, very strong winds. And I think these are going to hold together as they push across our area. Also want to point out that we've got the line out here that's producing these big warnings, but we've also got new areas of heavy rain that have popped up out ahead of the line. And these are storms that could very well get their act together. And if they do so, listen, the wind shear is still there. It's not just the line that I'm worried about. It's anything that pops up over the next 3 hours or so, 3 to 4 hours, that could produce a tornado or at least some wind damage out there. So I'm watching this for you very, very carefully. It's warmed up out there. We've got sunny breaks on the satellite picture, and all that combined with the rotation that's in the atmosphere today is making for a very dangerous setup across the area. So again, this is the wider view, and I'll put this into motion. This is what Cable 12 is our viewers there seeing there as well. And you can see Roanoke County right now getting some heavier rainfall. Rainfall-wise, I've had just shy of an inch here at the TV station, or right at an inch since yesterday. Same story at my house in Burnt Cheney, and checked Mom's rain gauge out too. She had about an inch at her house there near the school board office. So we've already got about an inch, and maybe not getting up to those 5-inch amounts that I was thinking earlier, but I do think 2 to 4 inches of rain could still cause some flooding issues out there as well. We've got lightning showing up in these segments here coming out of West Virginia. We mentioned Summersville in this warning. You can see those moving off to the north into the east at 60 miles per hour, just passing right over Oak Hill at the moment there as well. And then you move a little bit farther, south of this line. You can see Beckley there, seeing some windy conditions, more than likely some very heavy rain, torrential rainfall, and the reports of wind are very impressive. Let me show you here in the Tennessee. You can see every one of these orange dots. That is a high wind report of damage here. So numerous trees down in Lee County, which is the very tip of Virginia there. And that's just the case. It's just trees, trees, trees. Everywhere I see one of these icons, it's trees, power lines down. And usually you need at least 50 mile per hour winds to do that. Now, the area is under a wind advisory and a high wind warning, and I'm going to try to show you that too. First, I'm going to show you the enhanced look at the storm potential for today. And obviously, we're in the enhanced area. The Storm Prediction Center has basically expanded that to include almost all of Virginia, but certainly all of our area through the rest of today. If you were to look at just the tornado chance, we are at 10% in our area. Especially along and east of the mountains. That's why they're going to put a tornado watch out for the rest of the region. Right now, it's just the mountains that are under the tornado watch until 7. But there will be a second tornado watch coming at any time now. And what that will do is include everybody in the tornado watch. What that means, it's not a warning. It means that conditions are favorable. It means you've got the ingredients on the table, but you haven't cooked anything yet. The warning is when you start cooking. And so that's when you need to take action. When you start to see the warnings come out, you need to already kind of have a plan in place. Hopefully you are listening to me yesterday and I said, if you've got a trailer or whatever, or mobile home, manufactured home, you do want to get out of those in the event of a tornado warning. So if you have other plans, maybe with somebody with a brick home or something with a basement, and say, hey, if I get a watch or a warning, I may need to get to your area and hunker down for at least until the storm passes. That's certainly something I would encourage you to do, and that way you already have that plan set up. I would not want to wait on the warning until it's right on top of you, because then you really can't be heading out in this stuff. It's that dangerous. Looking at the wind product that the National Weather Service issued earlier today. They have now expanded it into a high wind warning. So we'll talk about the high wind warning first. That includes Bath County, that includes Allegheny County and Covington, also Rockbridge and Botetourt County, Roanoke, Salem, Benton, Roanoke County area, Floyd County, in the Carroll County and Grayson County. Then you get into northwest North Carolina, Ashe County, Watauga County with Boone there. And this is for winds that will probably be topping out up to 60 miles per hour in the gusting that will occur, mainly on the ridge tops, okay? But some of those ridge tops can carry down on the slopes those higher winds too. So they've got here 20 to 30 miles per hour as far as like a real sustained wind in this yellow area, and then gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Now in the brown areas, the only places that are really excluded from the wind advisory would be Buckingham, Appomattox, Charlotte, Halifax County, Caswell County, and Rockingham County, North Carolina. You're still going to get windy and breezy at times, although it's not advisory criteria. This is outside of the high wind warning, just shy of about what the criteria is here, gusting up to 50 miles per hour. This goes into effect, by the way, at 6 o'clock p.m., so it's not in effect yet. But what they're doing, I believe, the Weather Service, by putting this out, they're saying just ahead of this cold front that'll be coming in, and right behind it, we're going to get really windy, and that's going to be right along that line that progresses through the area. So that's fake thunder, by the way. I just got an email, so I get these random alerts here that come across. I've got a ticker on my desk that lets me show that to you, or at least it lets me know what's going on. Sometimes it scares me, though, when it makes all kinds of noises. Okay, so this is the 3-kilometer NAM, and this came out not too long ago. I'm going to get rid of my picture, but let's see. You can still hear me. There we are. Okay, good deal. This is 20Z, so this is coming up on the hour, and it lines up fairly well with what we're seeing. Now, as we advance it here through 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, by 6 o'clock we start to look right over Roanoke. Roanoke out to Botetourt, Rockbridge County, Floyd County. We've got a lot of activity out there to worry about, and this could have straight line winds with it. Right now that's what it looks like, but there are some models that indicate that we could have tornadoes embedded within that line as it pushes through. So we'll look for any kinks on the line as well. If we're going to bust on this tornado forecast, it may be because there's no pronounced warm front. There was a few hours ago, but it's kind of washed out now. But we still have a ton of wind shear that's fueling all of this and moving it along. So that continues to be a concern out there as well. Looking at some of the other parameters here, I mentioned the tornado parameters up around 10%, and what that means is, within the, it's kind of a conditional probability, but within the area there, the hatched area of 10%, you only are looking at, you're looking at up to 10% or greater probability of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of a point. So that's actually pretty high for our area. We've had amounts or probability up to about 15% across our area before, and that's when we had, I don't remember the event, which one it was, but it was an event where we had a couple of tornadoes, the EF3 kind, across the area. So something to take very seriously. I'm just checking on surrounding radars to see what's going on here. If you were to look at this map here, this is again off of GR Earth, and this shows you the mesoscale discussion, all right? That's out right now for the Roanoke Valley area and areas to the east. Where you see the tornado watch, that's in red, and then you go to the east of that, there's kind of a peach color here. That's where they are, let's see, they say Storm Prediction Center is going to put a watch up. It probably will be a tornado watch. They're giving it a 95% chance of being issued. And I'm going to kind of read here. one or more severe weather watches will likely be needed east of the Allegheny Front and Blue Ridge Mountains by 4 to 5 p.m. So it may take them a couple of hours to wait on this, but it's going to come. So get ready for the weather as it moves in, and the watch will be issued beforehand, hopefully. Isolated severe storm development, including a risk for supercells, could require an earlier watch, likely a tornado watch. So what they're saying is they're going to wait on this line to move through, but if anything develops out ahead of the line, they may put out something earlier in terms of a tornado watch. There are discussions saying the low-level jet and deep layer shear are starting to strong to extreme across much of the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Alleghenies there, with deepening surface lee troughing. I can't talk today because I didn't get much sleep last night. But the ingredients basically are coming together at the surface, talking about the wind energy just above the surface. So I'm kind of translating this as I read it. Despite weak mid-upper lapse rates, that's the instability, the northern return of the moist boundary layer air. We talked about that yesterday, just how humid it is. These are record amounts of moisture for this time of the year that makes it very unstable, including dew points that are near 70. And dew points near 70 will certainly cause some issues out there at any time. But this time of the year, it's almost unheard of. And we do have, look at that, dew point of 70 in Blacksburg, dew point at 71 in Lynchburg, 73 in Brookneal. These are very high levels of moisture. And again, this adds so much to the tornado potential and also to the severe weather potential out there as well. I've got a dew point of 70 here at the television station as well. So the temperatures did go up last night. If we were to look at the actual air temperatures, we're at 75 at 78 across Campbell County, 73 in Roanoke, and the 70s go all the way up past Martinsburg, West Virginia, all the way up in the PA. So what a strong system here, and they continue through a good part of the NRV. Interestingly enough, within this warning, there's not a lot of activity here around the Bluefield area yet on radar, but that may soon change. And I think the Weather Service is being more proactive than anything by putting that out. You can't read their minds, but they're doing their best here on getting those warnings out fast, because I believe they realize the seriousness of the situation as well. It's 79 degrees in Danville. We probably have a heat index in Danville, actually, because it's just so warm out there. And then again, if I was to, I'll put the satellite picture on here. We'll look at the visible satellite, and we look for breaks of cloud cover. The temperature should have given you a hint that we have seen the breaks develop. And where you see the overcast, that's generally an area north of the warm front. So if I had to draw a warm front, I'd draw it right through here. And why do I care about where the warm front is? Well, a front is areas where wind comes together and converges. We've got two of those. We've got one off to the west, a cold front, that's back here, basically. And then we've got what's left of a warm front kind of snaking through the 460 area. And then we've also got some spin in the atmosphere already, and again, a mountain boundary that's come off the mountains there. So typically when you look at a tornado potential, it's not any one of those things that produce the tornado. Rather, it's several of the factors that come together just right that can produce the tornado. You can get spin with either one of them, but to actually get it to focus into a tornado, you need them all. And so we've got the instability, we've got the wind shear, and everything's coming together here. The heavy rain too is still an issue, but right now it's a tornado thing. Significant tornado parameters are up. I'm going to go into some geekiness here. You can see the front is right through Western Virginia. Those are those kinks in the isobars. I'm going to get rid of the radar picture, and we are going to look at just wind shear. Roanoke is right here. An incredible amount of wind shear right now at 50 to 55 knots, up to 60 knots of shear through West Virginia. Folks, that's a ton of wind shear. You get anything over 30 to 40 knots here, and it's impressive. So we've doubled that. And as you go through the next 2 to 6 hours, you can see that sharp cutoff where by 9 o'clock, this is going to be probably east of the area heading toward Richmond and South Hill. But at 6 o'clock or so, it's right on top of Roanoke and goes through right along the parkway. And again, the mountainous areas could see some tornadoes from this. This does not care if there are mountains involved. It basically is going to happen whether you live in the mountains or if you live in the Piedmont areas. Not going to happen for everybody, but the chance is certainly there. This is instability, but we also use what's called a supercell composite index that takes into account the wind shear and everything we just talked about, but it puts a numerical value on all of that. And so when you get supercell composites up here in the 10s and 12s like we are right now, that is incredibly high, again, for our area. So through the next 4 hours or so, it's going to be very touch and go in terms of getting these things to spin. Again, I would caution you to say that if we don't have any discrete cells and we end up with just a squall line, we probably won't see any tornadoes. We'll see more of a straight line wind event. That being said, that's going to produce some wind damage as well because of all the wind. Again, if you look out your window, you can see those winds are howling and those clouds are moving. You don't need a big storm to bring that down to the ground. So that'll be something to watch very, very carefully. Let's look at the significant tornado parameter. And this is somewhat concerning here. I'm trying to think of which one I want to use. We're at 2 right now according to the meso analysis on this. However, this is expected to potentially jump up into the well, if you were to look at the NAM, into the 3s and 4s and even beyond that off a couple of other models. I want to show you something here. We've got a tornado warning, by the way. It's just come out north of Lewisburg. This is for northwestern Greenbrier County until 3 o'clock. Tornado warning near Raynell. We had a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Babcock State Park, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. Flying debris is going to be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. That's until 3 o'clock. So for another 30 minutes or so, that includes Quinwood and Clearco. Just to the west of Trout and Falling Spring in West Virginia. So with this line right here, as it comes across, comes out of the Charleston area of responsibility into the Blacksburg area of responsibility. As I mentioned, Raynell, Quinwood, Bingham, Duo, and Angene. Take cover now, move to a basement or an interior room in this area. Again, this is northwestern Greenbrier County in West Virginia. This is radar indicated, but still we exercise this to be on the safe side. And what I wanted to show you here, we'll take down the satellite here just a second, and we'll take off some of this. Don't worry, I've got the warnings up here on another program, but I wanted to show you the potential tornado tracks that could be moving through our area over the next several hours. So I'm going to put the model fill on, and this is the HRRR model. Let me go back, see if I can get the latest run here of the HRRR. Okay. And these are never perfect, but they give you an idea. Basically, it looks at where the air is spinning, and then it tracks that over an hour. So when you go to about, let's see, 3 o'clock, within the next hour, this is showing some potential rotation even in and around the Roanoke Valley area. And I mentioned that, storms out ahead of this line could also cause some trouble out there. You see a good track there going through Botetourt. These things will be flying. And then you've got more in the way of significant rotation potentially just east of Asheville to Morganton, it looks like, going out of the North Carolina foothills. Notice we get several tracks going into Bedford and Franklin counties up to Smith Mountain Lake and up around Lynchburg. We've got several tracks of rotation here going from northwestern Stokes County and just into southern Patrick County there, coming out of North Carolina, North Wilkesboro as well. This is at 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock, we've got, and the models have been consistent on showing something coming out of Floyd County and Patrick County by 6 o'clock or so, and perhaps getting into Franklin County there as well as you follow that on through. And it goes from 8 to 9 o'clock, it's in Southside. So this is going to be right along the squall line. So again, if the squall line holds together more as a line, you're going to just see some straight line wind damage, and there's going to be a lot of damage, I think, in terms of trees and power lines, and fortunately some folks are going to lose power. But if you look at the potential for spin, the models are not being a bit shy at what they're trying to tell us here. You go back one run, you can see how they change. Notice this track here, a huge track here, potential rotation north of Bedford going into Charlottesville. This is not current, this is a computer model, but it gives you that idea. Now, if I were to put on some overlays here, you can also see why we're looking at that rotation. So what we'll do is we'll put the model overlay on, and you're going to have a lot of wind arrows popping up here. So let me start you out with the surface wind, then we'll add some to it. All right, so let's go back here a little bit further. All right. So this is over the next hour and a half, right, 4 o'clock or so. You can see the surface winds are coming in out of the south. And then as you meet up with the line, they're coming in out of the west. They collide right here. Now that's not enough for a tornado, that's just convergence. But notice here in the brighter colors what's going on. All right, so you've got still winds coming in out of the south and out of the south-southwest. If you go up out of 10 meters and go up to about 5,000 feet, the winds get a lot stronger. That's called speed shear. What that does is it creates a sideways spin, almost like a sideways tornado. And you can see already, if I zoom in to say Bedford, you can see those arrows are crossing each other, not at a 45-degree angle, but at a pretty good angle, to where that's wind shear. And if I keep going up in the atmosphere to about 18,000 feet, you can see much the same here. And then you get up into the airplane mode. But all we really are concerned about is that lowest part, because of the clouds being so low to the ground. We get a lot of our tornadoes here when we have low LCLs, low lifted condensation levels, where you don't need to have a long column with a lot of spin. All you need is that little short column there near the surface to produce that. So quite a bit of wind shear, and I'm just, for interest's sake, looking at that too. So it looks like a good part of the area is going to be under the gun for the wind shear as we go through the evening hours. So it's going to get worse before it gets better, for sure. Let me go to the radar picture. We'll take another look at this tornado warning that again is in effect for the Quinwood area and Rennell. I want to look at that as well on my WSV3. So give me a second here, and we'll plop the radar on. And there you see it graphically. This is again Quinwood and right now. As you look at that, let me see if I have anything that's jumping out at me. They may be using the Charleston radar to look at the storm, because I don't see this into that area where they've got the warning. Did they warn for that little thing there? Is that it? They warned for this? Well, they may have. Let's see. I believe they did. I believe there's something there. It was just very small, a very tiny shower that popped up. But could have been spinning. like a little bit of rotation there. It's hard for me to tell. I'm not trained in exactly how they handle warnings out of the Weather Service, but a little surprised there. That's out ahead of the line, so I guess they had a good reason for it. If I go back to, I'm going to go back to the Blacksburg radar and see what I can inspect here. This is, again, northwestern Greenbrier County. Is the radar working? Oh, that's the problem. Radar's down. Blacksburg, again, all days that we kind of need it. Not good. See if I can get level 3 data. Yeah, I've got level 3 data. Okay. Velocity. Look at the velocity near the ground here. They may be also looking at something rotating out here toward Oakville or Oak Hill, moving across right now. So watching that very, very carefully. I'm going to jump off here, regroup a little bit, but you've got that. I'll post this visually for you, and we'll have more updates here as we move along and to the evening hour. So again, through about now to 6:30 over the next 4 to 5 hours from Roanoke and Franklin County and west, you need to watch out. And then between 5 and 9 o'clock, the Lynchburg, Danville areas into Southside, you'll need to watch out as well, because I do expect a lot more in the way of activity moving through. And again, a lot of that will be rotating across the area. So more updates to come. Take cover in northwestern Greenbrier County.